Howdy, howdy, and welcome back to a What's New edition of Workshop Wednesday this week, I should say. It's the first Wednesday of the week. So we're going to go through the updates and features that have been released in March of 2022. Being it's the first week of April, we thought it was a good time to do it. Get y'all caught up on the latest and greatest features before we go too far into this. My name is Chris Mercer. Welcome if this is your first Workshop Wednesday. My name is, again, Chris Mercer. Everybody calls me Mercer. You should as well. I'm the co-founder of a company called measurementmarketing.io. And whether you have found us through some of the podcasts and talks, through some of the platforms that we share some of our content with, measurementmarketing.io, if you're already a member over there, whether a free Toolbox member or an Academy member, however you found us, we're happy that you are here. It's our job to help people like you figure out how to use these tools. And we do that obviously with these What's New workshops because you need to stay up to date, especially with platforms like Google Analytics 4, which of course everybody's going to really have to start getting good at over this next 6 to 9 months or so. Now that Universal Analytics is going away, but maybe I'm giving away one of the updates, so I'll keep that to myself for now. All right, the flagship program that we have, of course, I mentioned it earlier, is the Measurement Marketing Academy, and we'll give you a tour of that product if it's something that makes sense for your organization. If you're looking to get a measurement culture in your organization, the Academy is the program for you. But again, we'll talk more about that at the end of the content. For this workshop, remember, one thing is what you're trying to get. So it's one new skill. Maybe it's one new feature that you kind of have to come up with a reason to practice to make it a skill, right? Because just knowing that the platform can do a thing is good because it's got get you some exposure to information, but what you really want is a skill. So practice it. You got to ride the bike, right? It's the whole point. You can't watch me ride a bike. You can't watch the instructors ride bikes and then expect that you're going to be any good at riding a bike. You got to jump on and practice it. So grab your one thing from this workshop, practice it, come back and rewatch it again to get more new things. Okay, let's go ahead and get started, shall we? What's new? New updates and features released in March of 2022. Now, we're going to go ahead and start where we always do, which is the framework. So we talk about the framework, we plan, we build, we launch. We're all marketing the blind when we first start out. We're trying to get to a point where just using the system reliably produces the result we want. In this case, bigger revenue, bigger profits. How do we do that? Well, we make sure we're asking the questions that we want to get answers to. We then collect the information needed to get answers to those questions. And most importantly, we think about the actions we're going to take based upon the answers we get. Then we move into the build, where you focus on the results. Make sure your platforms understand which results you're trying to get, which traffic sources are actually causing those results, and finally, doing that in a way that stitches the two together. This is where you sort of have to learn how to use the tools. But there might be some features and updates that are covered in today's workshop that cover that. In fact, that's what I would look for this particular workshop, going through the features that have come out. How do they help you tell a better story? How do they maybe get you to record a better result? How can they enable you to ask bigger questions, right? That sort of thing. Finally, of course, the launch is all about listening to the conversation that's happening between the users and the website, because now, presumably, you have that information in your story. Then it's all about the forecast. Based on your previous few weeks, you're now able to predict out what your next few weeks are going to look like. You can start measuring against your forecasts. That's how you know where to focus your resources to optimize everything. So that's the Measurement Marketing Framework in a nutshell. All right, we are going to go ahead and bring on board returning champion, guest instructor, Julie Brade. She's been teaching this stuff practically forever in the internet world. Since 2017, she's account manager for a dedicated measurement management client. She handles absolutely all of our reporting over at measurementmarketing.io as the team that is basically leading the charge for our measurement services here. And just an absolute data studio rock star. So she is constantly using these tools, Tag Manager, Google Analytics, Data Studio, increasingly the other, definitely spreadsheets, like all the stuff that is measurement, Julie is in the middle of. So she's a great person to be able to give you these updates and say, hey, here's what we've got coming down. Here's things that I found useful and why, just to get you up to date. All right, let's go ahead and hand it over to you, Julie. Take it away.
Thank you so much for that awesome introduction, Mercer. As you said, let's go ahead and jump into what's new in March 2022. We had a lot of little things happen with all of our different Google platforms. So let's start with one of the main ones, Google Analytics. Let's drag it back to what we saw in the very, very beginning of March. You may or may not have noticed that there was a little bit of a makeover on your homepage when you came into Google Analytics 4. So it changed a little bit. You see some different icons and some adjustments onto what you're seeing here. But also around that same time, it Google Analytics 4 announced that they're calling it predictive metrics, and so it's basically data modeling and all of this fun stuff where it's going to try to guide you and help you decide which one is going to be the one that's going to convert or higher revenue or whatever it is that you're trying to figure out. And if you come into research a little bit more about predictive metrics, you can have purchase, churn, revenue. So if you want to learn more about, see if it's something that you want to be able to use, definitely dive in. But more importantly is you need data in Google Analytics 4 and useful data, clean data, to be able to start using this tool. So the sooner that you get into Google Analytics 4, the more useful that this will be, or the sooner this will be useful. So meaning if you're still kind of playing around with it and stuff like that, you have to wait a little bit longer for it to start being useful if it's going to be something that you want to use. But that does not mean to unplug Universal Analytics. Still keep your Universal Analytics plugged in and keep using that for your dashboards. But you can still get your Google Analytics 4 ready to receive the data so it can start doing its data modeling stuff. So that's just a pro tip for you. Next, a couple of things that were released that pertain to a very select groups of people, like the ones that are using Google 360, or some that might be in Japan or have clients that are in Japan. So if that applies to you, definitely read through this. But for most of us, it does not apply to us. So just kind of be aware that something's happen, that you still want to stay on top of it if it does something that applies to you. So and again, another update for something along the 360 brand. So this one is for search ads. So most of you that may not apply to you, but if it does, it's just there's constantly updates that are happening in the 360 realm. Like every couple of weeks, one of the platforms has some sort of update, especially with GA4. So just stay on top of those, because if you're trying to get something to work and it's not working now, just pay attention and stay on to date with these workshops the first Wednesday of every month, and we'll let you know when it's available, because it may be available soon. Then finally, towards the middle of the month, there was just one final update with the Android, again, and the Firebase, all the stuff. So it's a very select group of people, lots of small updates and lots of updates in GA4 that were for very select groups, except for the very beginning. The first one was mainly for everybody. So that is our updates for Google Analytics. Let's jump into the next one, which is Google Tag Manager. So there really wasn't anything that pertains to everybody with Google Tag Manager. Again, more Firestore, that type of stuff. So if that pertains to you, definitely dive in and read it. For most of us, I would say 90% of us, that's not something we're into right now or have clients that are using that. So, but if you have that, awesome, that's fantastic. So one other side note with Google Tag Manager, we actually had one of our members point this out to us when we have our courses or have a workshop. Sometimes when we're guiding something, we'll say like, hey, check out, search your gallery or search your triggers and tags to see if it's available. And at the time of doing a course, something we were using was not available, but then they let us know that, hey, it is now available. So just a friendly reminder, pro tip, to always come through here in your templates in Google Tag Manager to see if something it is that you're trying to do is already available here. And so you can always Google it, like, if you're trying to do something specific, and you could put in the words Google Tag Manager template, then it could be Facebook Pixel or, something else, and then see if someone's already had one and instructions how to use it. So just always, always, always look. And that goes for tags as well. So if we come in here and click on new tags, click on our type, and then come down over here, and there's always going to be new ones over here. So always look Maybe set yourself a reminder once a month just to see if something's here, because I remember back in the day when Upsell it didn't have their own tag, and so we would have to do, I believe it was custom HTML tags for them, and so now we are able to use these, and that makes it a whole lot easier. And sometimes if you don't use the built-in, the pixels or the conversions, they won't work because they're looking for it however it's built in this way, and they're kind of ignoring the old custom HTML. So it's always be aware. And if someone says, your client says, oh, it stopped working, this is one of the first places that you could look to see, hey, is there something in here that is like where the platform wants us to use their built-in instead of the older way of doing it. So while that's not necessarily something new this month, it is something, just a good reminder for all of us to come in here and look to see if there's anything new that we can use. And now finally, Google Tag Manager. So with Google, excuse me, I said Google Tag Manager, I mean Google Data Studio. So with Google Data Studio, early on in the month, we had more dimensions metrics from Google Ads. And so this has been happening probably for a good 6 to 9 months. Every other month, they'll release quite a few dimensions and metrics. And so now we have more, which is fantastic for you that do Google Ads. And so if you're using the Google Ads connector or a connector like Power BI Analytics or Supermetrics, this is all good news for you that are doing that. So if you you should just follow the instructions, probably refresh your connector and be able to use those. And then something else that may be useful for you is being able to, and when you're in your main data studio, like datastudio.google.com, and you want to search for something, like maybe you want to search for, like I want to search for a dashboard that I send to our marketing director, Omari, and I could search for Omari and it would come through here. So that's just possibly something that you would want to be able to do. It's kind of nifty. Or just have a good naming conventions for your dashboards, and you should be able to find it easy there too. The next thing is actually kind of neat, another small update that may or may not be useful for you, but it's basically saying where your templates, and so here's a typical template from Google Data Studio, and this is what's new right here. So you can click on here and choose whatever data source. So it's going to list out all of your different clients, and like you would add a normal data source for Google Analytics, and you would choose that and it would reflect the data for that data source that you choose. So you can flip through different clients and decide like, oh yes, this type of template would work for me. So that's a neat little thing that you would be able to do if you're using that. But side note, we don't encourage you to use templates because sometimes templates are meant to answer their questions and not your questions. So it's good to get ideas from templates, but make sure that you're answering your questions, because maybe you don't care how sessions are trending or what the top country sessions are. Maybe that, like for a lot of you, this is probably not something that is as interesting to you as it is like, the different conversions and where traffic is coming from and where the conversions are coming from with traffic. So that's not answering any of those questions here. So just be aware that you will probably still need to do some modifications to answer your questions so you can take actions on your dashboard. All right, going on to the next one. And this is actually something that wasn't flipped on initially. I kept waiting for it to come through for me, like I was watching it. But basically, it's saying with these different data sources, obviously mainly the Google ones for now, they will by default have a cross filtering turned on. So if I select, actually I need to select a table. So if I choose a element or a chart that would be able to have this option and scroll all the way to the bottom, this is the thing that they say is now going to be automatically turned on. And so if I were to add a new table just to see if we're able to see it work in action, and I come and click on this, and I scroll down, and it's still not turned on. So this is something they are rolling out. Again, like it hasn't been by default for me yet. I've tried it with a brand new document and other things, and I haven't seen it. So even though it says starting this week, I guess it doesn't mean necessarily completed this week. So just be aware that eventually that really nifty option will be on by default for these different data sources. And so just be aware of that. That'll kind of make it one step less for us when we use that. And then finally, so you're able to get more data from Google Search Console. It's only a few different metrics and dimensions. And then also, in case it matters to you, you can now get a display up to 50,000 rows in your table. So again, let's always make sure that our dashboards are useful and actionable. I don't know if having 50,000 rows is going to be useful, but just in case it is for you, you have that option now. So that was it for Google Data Studio. With Google Optimize, there wasn't anything in the month of March. We talked about this last month in our What's New for February. There was a bunch of things that pushed out for February, and they hadn't done anything since 2020. We suspect over the next few months there will be a few more updates so it can tie into Google Analytics 4 more. So we don't know if that's going to fall under the Google Analytics updates, the Google Optimize updates. So we are watching for those notifications and those updates, but it still means get your Google Analytics 4 plugged in, start playing with it, get the data in there that's useful. So when it's time, you'll be able to use Google Optimize with your GA4 and everything will be seamless. So just still start practicing with GA4. All right, now what's new with our Measurement Marketing Academy? So for in the month of March, we recorded an update for when Google Analytics e-commerce. And so it was not just Google Analytics, the old one, GA3, Universal Analytics with standard enhanced e-commerce, but we also included GA4. So if you need to get that e-commerce updated for GA4, for all of you Academy members, definitely go and watch that so you can be updated on that. Also, we have a brand new tool that we're going to show you how to get to. So for those of you that are free Toolbox members and our Academy members, you can go into your Toolbox. So again, this is a free tool. For those of you that are Toolbox members, go to Forecasting Calculator, and you can very quickly and easily use this to decide how you want to tweak and adjust your funnel to get the results that you're looking for. So let's say you have 1,000 users coming to the page, and let's say your conversion rate for the overall funnel is 3%, and your product price is, let's say it is, make a weird number, let's do $97. And very quickly, you're going to see your number conversions and the revenue. So if you have inventory and you want to make sure that you have the inventory, this will very quickly and easily help you discern if you have that, or if you're trying to hit a certain revenue goal with a certain type of traffic, and like maybe you know it's going to be warm traffic, so you're like it's going to be more like 5%. You can adjust those. And then you can do the same thing with a two-step funnel, like let's say an offer page and a cart. And then same thing with the three-step funnel. Maybe it's an opt-in offer page cart, or it's a product detail page, step 1 of the cart, step 2 of the cart. So all in different ways you can use this. This could also be average order value. And you also have your overall conversion rate for the 2-step and 3-step funnels. So again, this is a free tool for you to be able to use that is inside your Toolbox with the Measure Marketing Academy. So our free Toolbox members, Mercer, if you're not already a Toolbox member, Mercer will tell you here in a moment how to do that. And you can get in there and start using this tool along with other tools there too. And now coming soon to the Measurement Marketing Academy, we just talked about what's new. What's coming up in the Measurement Marketing Academy is Win BigQuery and Win Google Tag Manager server-side. So Win BigQuery is a brand new course that we will be having in a few weeks. So stay tuned for those updates and invites for that. And then we will be updating Win Google Tag Manager server-side because of some changes that's been happening with the platforms. It's going to make a whole lot, make it easier for you if you haven't already implemented it. Then stay tuned for that one. We'll have those there. All right, finally, I want to address the kind of the elephant in the room. That's something that was that happened early on in this month that I think everyone is aware of, but I'm still going to put it in our what's new, and that is the fact that the deprecation date was finally announced. And if you come into your Google Analytics, you'll see this banner, and it's everywhere. And if you want to learn more about it, you can. But it's July 1st, 2023. Again, I'm sure that you, as you're someone that's staying up to date, you already know this. But you guys might want to know what is our plan at measuremarketing.io and what is our plan for our clients. So we'll just let you know what we plan on doing. And if that's something that you want to follow as well, then awesome. But if you have a different idea, then that is okay too. So for us, what our plan is we will be still collecting data in Universal Analytics until it goes dark, basically until July 1st, 2023. However, starting now, all the way up until the end of the year, we will be getting our data ready for GA4 and our clients ready for GA4 so that we will be what we're calling production ready, dashboard ready, walking into 2023. So that means that all of our Data Studio dashboards will be using GA4 and including that for our clients in at all of 2023. So that way we have like that 6 months, the first 6 months of 2023 to make any adjustments. We'll be able to correlate the data from Universal and GA4. We'll be able to kind of make sure we're trending the same way. The truth is in the trend, the power is in the pattern, as you know. However, for us at measuremarketing.io, because we teach all these things and we need to kind of be ahead of the curve, for us, we're actually going to be doing it a whole lot earlier. We've already have some dashboards that we're kind of watching and playing with that is using Google Analytics 4. Any dashboard that we're building from here on out is going to be using Google Analytics 4 because we need to practice with building and answering certain questions, because a lot of the things that we've built now are basic questions like how is the funnel performing, how is we have our eyes on the journey with Google Analytics 4, but we don't know what else might not already be measured with GA4. So we're starting to build out everything in GA4 so we can start plugging those holes sooner rather than later, and then also giving the data modeling a chance. So for us, we hope to be completely switched over to all of our dashboards using GA4 before the fourth quarter of 2022. So that's for us, but for our clients, it'll be walking into 2023 with GA4 dashboards. So a common question that we get is, if you're starting now, should you just go straight to GA4? Or should you do Google Universal Analytics? And the answer is yes to both. If you are getting a new client and you don't know if you want to do both, you should do both. You should still set up their Universal Analytics, and this is kind of the way that we're working with it with our clients, is set up the Universal Analytics. At the same time, plug in Google Analytics 4. Quite literally, it'll take you 10 minutes to set up the data stream, kind of get everything plugged in, maybe 20 or 30 minutes if it's really, really, really new to you. We have all kind of courses, we have all kind of workshops that'll guide you through that. Get it plugged in so it's collecting data, and so that way you can have Google Analytics 4 data. While it's collecting data, you can continue to build out your Universal Analytics the way you normally do. Have scroll, have clicks, answer all those questions, get a useful dashboard for them so they can take action. And then at the meantime, after you kind of have all of their dashboards, the preliminary dashboard, then you can circle back into GA4 and start making the build better. So that's why you're future proofing their measurement. So when July 1st, 2023 happens, you already have at this moment in time, over a year's worth of data so they can be able to go back and see what's happening instead of waiting until right before this happens. Because if you wait right before this happens to start using GA4, your client or you are not going to have that much data to look back on. But as soon as you plug it in and start using it, you can. So now the next question, why won't you just go directly into GA4? Like starting now, since it's the very beginning of April in 2022, why won't you go straight into GA4? A lot of what GA4 has now, it's fantastic and great, but it's still not still not ready to be used as the main reporting platform. We're expecting some big updates here in the next 6 months or so that's going to take it to that level, but the data that you're going to get from Universal Analytics, obviously if your build is correct and useful, that is going to be more useful for you to make decisions off of and take action from. And if you're already familiar with Universal Analytics, it's going to make it a whole lot easier to correlate the data and to see issues in GA4. And same thing, if you've never worked with Universal, learn it so that when you get to GA4, it's going to make a whole lot more sense. So just think of Universal Analytics kind of as a stepping stone now. Learn the platform if you don't already know it, and then that way when you get to GA4, it's going to be a whole lot easier to wrap your head around, because just jumping straight into GA4 is basically throwing yourself into the deep end and you don't know how to swim. So just, use the tools that are already there. There's so many different workshops that we have out there, different courses. You can learn this tool and also learn GA4 as well. And if you have any questions, you have us back there and Ask an Instructor. And we'll definitely be happy to answer any questions that you have for your particular situation. We get this question I would say several times a week about what they should do. Should they do both? Should they do one? Should they do the other? And what should they do with their unique client situation? So it's a very, very, very common question that we get. And if you want to ask us about your unique situation, definitely ask us and Ask an Instructor, and we can guide you and help you through, make a plan for the process. We love helping everyone plan. So just let us know. All right, I'm going to hand it back to Mercer, and he can tell you how to find that new tool that we just mentioned as well, if you're looking for that.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I think at this point we can go ahead and move on. Just one other quick note. I know Julie mentioned this about the whole, Universal versus GA4. Also remember that a lot of major platforms do not have GA4 integrations yet. So you don't have a choice. And it's a lot easier to learn GA4 and the basics of measurement on something like Universal Analytics first before you dive into GA4. Just emphasize that point. But thank you, Julie, for that. Appreciate all of those updates. I think for me, it was, when I think about the one thing that I got from that, obviously the deprecation announcement was the biggest deal. It just was. So that hands down is it. I like the idea of the predictive audiences, and I'm watching for those. You should check those out in the demo store if you haven't already. The GA4 demo accounts that they have for this stuff, so you can sort of see those audiences back there. The trick to those is, remember, anything with machine learning or AI just requires an enormous amount of traffic sometimes to get those things cranking. So it's unfortunate sometimes you might not be able to take full advantage of it, but I love that they're doing it, because eventually machine learning gets smarter and smarter and smarter. The trends and patterns are going to be there, and they're going to be easier to figure out, and then it'll work its way down to those of us who have slightly smaller traffic than the millions of hits that might be required to feed some of those algorithms. But anyway, what was your one thing? You take advantage of it, practice it, and come back and then rewatch this workshop, pick up another new one thing. Of course, the framework, where does the thing from the framework? I know for story, for sure, GA4 is a big deal, and that migration of Universal to GA4, I know every month we'll be talking more and more about this. Julie kind of gave you our rough timelines for what we're thinking about is definitely by walking in the 2023 with everything fully cooked. We know there's going to be back and forth a little bit with GA4 And we've been using it for years. At this point, it just was incredibly limited. Julie mentioned it wasn't quite ready for production. It's getting really, really close. Don't get me wrong; it's really, really close. But there are some other reports and things like that that I think will probably come out in the next 6 months that should dramatically improve it. That said, that's what Julie's doing. She's pushing to GA4 so that we can, because we use Data Studio, so we don't need to wait for the reports of GA4. We use Data Studio for that, and so a lot of our stuff is already moving to GA4 because of the fact that we use multiple tools to improve our story. Right, tying it back to the framework here. All right, next week's workshop is what is Google BigQuery, and do you need it now? Now, this, of course, is a platform that you're going to be hearing more and more about, especially with the release of GA4 and the what will initially be a forced adoption of GA4 over the next year, because it integrates with BigQuery. So there might be a reason that you might need it. We're going to talk about that next week. If you want this workshop, all you need to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel, and thank you for all those who are doing that and leaving the kind comments, good, bad, or ugly. Love the comments, so please keep them coming in. Let us know what's going on, especially if you have topic ideas. We are here for you to help give you what you need. The Measure Marketing Toolbox is the other thing, and this is the thing that Julie mentioned when she was talking about that forecasting calculator, which she's definitely excited about, getting kind of up and running for everybody. So that is available for all the members for free. You just need to be at least a Toolbox member, which is our free membership level. It's just your name and an email, and then it'll set up your account for you. Just go to measure.tip/WW. The only thing that we ask is that you use the membership. So you got it always, it's like sort of like 90-day increments. So if you jump in there using the tools, after about 90 days, if you aren't using it, you're going to get an email that says, hey, do you need to make room for somebody else? And, we can shut down your account if you're not using it, which is perfectly fine, because I get that. Sometimes you don't need it anymore. But it's yours for as long as you want. So if you are using it, you'll just never see that email. So just use it and you'll be fine. Otherwise, just make room for somebody else to be able to free up an account. That's all we ask. But it is free for as long as you want it. Entirely yours. We just give out the tools as our way of helping to build a community. So enjoy that at measure.tip/WW. Now, that said, of course, there is the Measurement Marketing Academy. Let's talk about the Measurement Marketing Academy. It is, of course, our flagship training program. We built the Academy for one reason only, and that is to help you get through the measurement marketing framework over and over and over again at the various stages. We talk about there, and then you first start out, you're just learning this stuff. And so you can only do so much with measurement. Then you get through the framework, you build a little measurement muscle. Then you're going to come back through the framework again, build it again and again and again and again. And it keeps going like that. The Academy is there to help you to do that every step of the way, every time you go through the framework. A really quick tour of what the framework looks like, or not the framework, but the Academy itself. So when you come in, you will see these 6 core blocks that are here as an Academy member. Of course, we always have the latest updates each week that will come through here with some of the highlights of what's important as an Academy member for you. So you always have that. The main content is the courses, the workshops, and of course, the toolbox. So the courses, they look like this. They're all organized by date because they are updated typically every 4 to 6 weeks. We are doing an update to an existing course or a brand new course. You can see everything that is back here. There's an absolute ton organized by date, because as an Academy member, you don't want to be back here watching courses all day long. But if it's been a month or two and you want to come in and see the latest one that's done, very easy way to do that. Of course, they're organized by topic as well. So you can see all the Google Analytics stuff, including GA4. We've got the Tag Manager stuff, including server side. We've got Data Studio in the dashboarding section, including the Beyond Basics that's here of Data Studio. And of course, what my personal favorite is the strategy stuff. How do you plan? How do you forecast? How do you optimize? The thinking behind this thing called measurement is actually, that's not true. It is more important than actually learning a tool like Google Analytics. Because if you don't know the thinking behind why you even want to use a tool like Google Analytics, what's the point, right? So measurement strategy is also back here as well. So that's the courses. To show you what they look like as an example, here's your measurement plan. When we talk about building out a measurement plan, you come into it, and this is what most of the courses are basically following, same sort of idea. You have the main lesson, and each of these is videos. So you have the different videos for the different topics. Here's the next lesson with their topics. So you can see how much is back here as you go through and learn and practice and grow. And of course, there are ways to get help as you need help, which you will, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So you've got the WIN courses, right? They're standard courses that most people are looking for. And if you think about how many courses are back there, it's all the analytics, all the Tag Manager, all the different levels of those, Data Studio, strategy, and more. Like we had all sorts of stuff. We just recently came out with Sheets. We're going to be doing, things like BigQuery and, things like that. So there's always new things that are coming out or being updated just in the Win courses themselves. Next up is the on-demand workshops. On-demand workshops look like this. You always have the most recent Workshop Wednesday back there for you. And you can see those broken down. So they're organized by date. You can get caught up on all the What's New workshops as an Academy member. You can get caught up on all the Getting Started workshops as an Academy member, the Beyond Basics. These have all been edited down. They obviously don't have things like the Academy tours and stuff like that in there. But it's a really good way to get caught up, and it is entirely searchable. So you can go in here, type in whatever the thing you're looking for. It'll search the entire database of all the on-demand trainings that cover that topic, as well as the different lessons that cover that topic in the Win courses themselves. So you have access to all of that. Again, Win courses and the on-demand workshops, just in terms of the content. 24/7, access whenever you need it. It is there for you. The toolbox is our final bit of content. So the toolbox itself has all of the tools that we have access to. So you can copy these, create these. We create them for our members to make things easier. A lot of these are referenced in the Win courses as well. But the Academy member also gives you access to the Get It Done guide. So things like Eyes on the Journey, which is a pretty popular report that we are very famous for at this point. That kind of shows you deep dive into how the behaviors that are happening on the pages. There's a big little video series on this. It's one of those things where a Get It Done guide is perfect if the topic itself is not big enough for a Win course, but it is bigger than just what one workshop should cover. That's what we do, the Get It Done guide. So it's kind of like our little middle ground. And this system, the reason that we do this with the Win courses, the demand workshops, and the toolbox, including the Get It Done guides, is because somehow when something changes in measurement, which happens all the time, we're able to get you updates fairly quickly. So you can always stay up to date and take advantage before anybody else can. Well, which is kind of why we do this for our members. So those are the main content sections. Now, I mentioned earlier, you're going to need help with this stuff. We definitely need to get help with this stuff because this stuff is complicated, because it's sometimes really useful to talk to people about this stuff. So there's a couple ways you can get help. One is the Winner Circle. So that is kind of the community helping the community, right? Peer-to-peer stuff coming through. So you can see people, the break room sort of mentioning stuff where people are from or whatever. In this case, for social media marketing world and having conversations around that. But they're broken down by different topics. And this is a chance for members to help other members. Sometimes we don't have the skills to answer the questions because it's not our topic of expertise. For example, if somebody asks us something about technical SEO, well, we're not technical SEO experts, but there are definitely members in the Measurement Marketing Academy who are. There are agency owners who are. And so they can help answer those questions. Maybe you're a platform expert when it comes to Google Ads. Maybe you can help somebody answer Google Ads questions, or maybe it's a builder platform or something like that, WooCommerce or whatever, right? So Shopify. And so it's like people can help each other back there, but they're all speaking a unified language, which is measurement marketing. It's one thing everybody has in common. So peers helping peers. It's a super, super cool group and a really good spot to build networks, etc. The other place to get help, and this is, to be honest, what most people use, is the Ask an Instructor support system. So Ask an Instructor support's pretty easy to access. You get into there, you ask your question, pop in your question, the details. What we really, really love are screenshots and videos in this section. So you send us over a link to a video that's kind of a full screen video that walks us through what your issue is, what your question is. It doesn't matter if it's a strategy question or a tactical sort of like, how do I get this goal to work in Tag Manager question? It does not matter. Send us over anything that you want us to take a look at from a measurement perspective. We will be able to get you unstuck and moving forward. That's the idea. And our job as instructors is to help teach you, to build you muscle. So yes, we will sometimes give you an answer, but mostly it's to help you to find the answer and leave you so that you learn these skills as an organization, right, within your own organization. That's what the Ask Instructor support is for. And it's the closest thing to essentially a quote unquote private conversation between your side and our side, right? The instructor team and then your side of things. So that sometimes I realize putting things into the Winner Circle might not be important, something you can do because you don't want to share maybe client data or something, but you can certainly have a behind the scenes conversation with the instructors back here in the Ask Instructor support system. And of course, all of your answers are recorded, so you can have those and mark them as favorites or whatever else. It's a really incredible system, and we built this entire academy again to help you. It's not that you're going to come in here and watch all the videos, because we create content faster than you can watch it, but it is a just-in-time learning platform. So you can come through when you have a question. There will be some way that you can get unstuck and moving forward. Maybe it's a course. Maybe it's a workshop. Maybe it's a Get It Done guide. Maybe it's a Winner Circle question that you can help answer or get an answer to. Or it's Ask Instructor support. And 9 times out of 10, if you send over videos and screenshots, we send over videos and screenshots. So it's an absolute incredible platform to be a part of. Obviously, would encourage you to be a part of that as well. The manage account here, just so you know, is the standard manage account stuff. So if you need to change your email or billing information, that sort of stuff, kind of standard at that point. So the academy itself, to kind of run down the value here, the courses, the Ask Instructor support, the on-demand workshop library, the Winner Circle community, you get access to every single course that's available back there. So we don't limit anything. You get access to everything, including all the updates. The Ask an Instructor support, you get access to that. You can ask as many questions as you want. There is no limit to the amount of questions that you are able to ask back there. So we have people sometimes that are like, I feel bad asking so many questions. Please ask questions. The instructors actually like that more. It's a dirty little secret, but it's true. The instructors love the people who ask more questions because they know that those people are learning. Those students are learning. So please ask questions back there. The on-demand workshop library, again, 24/7 access. There are hundreds and hundreds of workshops that are back there in this database, completely searchable. New ones added at just about every single week. The on-demand workshop library is back there for you. And of course, the Winner Circle community. You get access to essentially what is a private club of measurement marketers and those learning measurement marketing that you have access to. So all told, you have approximately $15,000 in training and support that you get access to as an Academy member, and technically goes a little bit higher each and every week because we keep adding content to this platform. Again, our job is not to overwhelm, it's to help, to make sure that you build skills, that you build your own measurement muscle. That is what the Academy is there for. So with that, it's officially that time. It's our job to ask you to join the Measurement Marketing Academy. And of course, to do that, all you need to do is to, oops, I just lost my screen. Let me go ahead and pull that back up. There we go. All you need to do is to go to the measure.tips/getacademy. It'll show you exactly what all the latest and greatest offers are that are currently available for you. Again, over at measure.tips/getacademy. All right, with that, we will go ahead and officially wrap up our little adventure here. This has been What's New? New updates and features released in March 2022. Thanks again for watching this workshop, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.